Hey guys, welcome back to another Helluva Boss Discussion video. I am Dazzling Kate for those who are new here, and welcome back for those who are old here. Now, before I continue with this video, I'm going to say a really quick thank you for you guys for watching my video from the beginning of this year, or 2 weeks ago as I should say, and let me just say I was not expecting to get past 5,000 views. That was freaking amazing. We were sitting at 7,000 views for that video and 400 likes. You outbeaten yourselves. More than twice the amount I asked for, which was 200 likes. And I was just like, wow. So for this video, I'm going to try and make this a good wish. So let's get this video up to 3,000 views and 300 likes. Let's see if we can beat that record. Or even more so. So again, thank you guys so much. You don't know how much that means to me. So make sure you comment down below what you think Stella is as a villain in the comment section, because that is very important. This time I'm going to be drawing in the background while I ramble away about Stella and her development throughout Helluva Boss. Now, honestly, I feel like a lot of the time people just make it seem like she's just, she needs to be the ultimate, bitch. And I guess she's proven herself to do that, because ever since, she's been so bitchy. This is ridiculous. This is very ridiculous. I try my best to not really pay too much attention and just focus instead on the development. But the problem is that Stella does not have much development. And I'm not asking for her to have a tragic backstory like you see from the Disney remakes. I'm asking for her story. And, we've seen plenty of villains and villainesses actually become, well known for their, development throughout the film or throughout their story of taunting the good guys. And I get that everyone's kind of a neutral, an anti-hero kind of vibe here. Blitz and his gang are just mostly in that category in itself, and it's they're in hell, that kind of thing. But I'm trying to understand how everyone and their mom always goes off about Stella hiring an assassin to take down Stolas. But Blitz's whole business is doing exactly that, taking orders from somebody to take down their shitty ex or, crappy person that they had to deal with in, their previous life, and now, they're killing them off, and it's for revenge. So why is it that everyone's attacking the hell out of her when Blitz is already doing, that's the confusing part, because I saw a few people actually bring this up to me in my previous video, and it was yeah, that's kind of freaking weird. It's kind of weird how everyone was just oh, it's totally fine if Blitz does it. What? I'm not excusing her from doing that. Like I said, I do not blame them for having a dislike for each other, because obviously they do not have a good chemistry, clearly. But it's just what are we supposed to do when what are we supposed to do when the main villain, who you're supposed to, hope fails, or at least have some kind of idea of, oh, that's pretty, villainy of them. That's pretty bad of them. That's pretty interesting. You're supposed to also be able to like the villains to a degree of how bad they can be. And it's just in this, we just kind of get this annoying, cringy moments between Stella and her brother just being one-dimensional. they're just busy with all that power of basically just getting manicures and whatever else. And I wouldn't mind it so much if they actually did something like change the environment more, and like the environment that they live in. Like, I know that we got that in Sinsmith when Andy, I'm just gonna call him Andy just so I don't have to say the full entire name. I don't care who the fuck, like, you're gonna be Andy now, dude. You're gonna be Andy. So it's so interesting. Like, that environment changed because it's Sinsmith and stuff. So ice, snow, that kind of thing. But honestly, I would have loved for them to make the palace a little different. Like, do something with it. Like, show off that. Like, show off their family. Like, maybe they've been planning this because maybe in their blood, in like a previous life, I don't know. Maybe Stolas's ancestor pissed off their ancestor and they've seeked vengeance. I don't know. That would make more sense and more reason for why they want to do this. Like, I'm not asking for a full-on explanation. Hell, they could even have like little grudges, like, I don't know, Stola stepped on their fucking sandcastle, and I would accept it. But we just kind of see them being overly childish to a degree where it's like, it's not even entertaining anymore. It's one thing to be this big villain, but it's another when you start like having these moments where you can't even take them seriously, despite them having this big plan of trying to frame Stolas for this and that. And like, how did they like reconnect it so that Stolas gets that full punishment? Like, they had to have written some kind of paperwork to kind of explain like all this other bullshit, especially when it came to like Stryker and such, like saying that it was like Stolas who hired Stolas who hired Stryker to kill him off. Like, doesn't that make you scratch your head a little bit? And this is the kind of shit I mean. It's just like, it's these kind of things that I'm just like, well, okay, how exactly does this, when did this, I don't know. I really don't. And it's unfortunate because we could probably see a lot of badass villain moments. Like, clearly this is, they don't get any. They don't get any. And it's unfortunate because we could actually be seeing some development from the series with these characters. But instead it's just kind of like they're taunting Octavia, and Octavia's not even like, I wonder why they keep saying, oh wow, it's amazing to be a shithead to my dad. So they obviously aren't bad guys. Like, they fucking make it so damn clear, even though it's implied in some way that, Stella is manipulating Octavia, even though we don't really see that on screen. And we could easily see it if we just had a few moments of Stella just manipulating Octavia. Like, we could have some Mother Gothel-like moments. Like, oh yeah, like, your father wasn't trying hard enough for you. He's a liar, that kind of thing. And trying to sweet talk her way to it. Like, she's like, oh yeah, I wanted things to go back to the way they were back then too, but your father changed, that kind of thing. We don't see that. We just see Stella being like, oh, isn't this wonderful? I'm gonna go throw a fucking party now that, like, Stolas is gone. And, like, it's so freaking irritating, because it's just like, I want to see good villains, like, in the story. I want to see good developed villains. But with these two, it's just so frustrating because you have to, like, bite your tongue to some degree, because some people probably be like, well, like, Stella's a bitch. Stella doesn't, like, yeah, she is, but, and it's sad that we don't get that much development. And it's crazy to me that we don't see that, because like, remember with the other characters, they tend to get some moments, specifically Stolas and Blitz get more developed moments, even though they're kind of half-assed to a degree. It's just like, what are we supposed to do with these villains now? Like, they don't seem as threatening as they should be. It's just very bothersome that they're basically now over they're one-dimensional villains with no real story for being evil other than just being evil just because they want to, like. And there's a good way of telling that, but there's also a bad way of telling that. For like some examples, you have serious villains who are just like, they don't have, like, yeah, despite them having a tragic backstory in some way, they're like, well, I don't really care about my backstory. That's not what, like, that turned me into this. I just want to, like, do this because it feels good. That kind of thing. It feels good to be me. Like, we don't really get that. It's just like, oh yes, we're little shits. We just made sure that you couldn't, see your dad. Yay, isn't that fun? So fun. Oh man, like, it's so frustrating seeing that. And to not have any developed moments between, like, Stella and Octavia. Like, I think Vivzipop is avoiding actually having the two actually speak to each other in a conversation. The most conversation from one of the parents tends to be Stolas, and it's mostly... It's crazy, because we don't really see Octavia interacting with Stella during these, like, during Since Miss. We don't really see her interacting, like, that's actually the most interactions we've gotten between them, despite it still not having that much interactions between them. You get what I mean? It's like, how the fuck are we supposed to, like, understand these characters if we don't have, like, development? Like, I'm not asking for a long ass background story. I just want a reason. I want a reason for why it is what it is. Like, come on, like, give me a reason, some kind of reason. As for, sorry, I'm just, like, making sure I handle the sketch. As for, like, how Andy should be involved, like I said, there should be some kind of, like, maybe there was some kind of family feud between the two families, and they've only come to an agreement because they wanted to basically have that same amount of power. The arranged marriage happened, blah blah blah. But really, like, I feel like it should have been, like, a huge cover-up for them to take over the family. That would have made sense. Instead, it's just like nothing, no substance, no nothing. There's absolutely nothing. But yeah, it's really frustrating, because a lot of people can just really miss the point of these villains, and they're supposed, again, the way that they're displayed in the series is that they're the main baddies, and it's just like, well, I guess we don't have much of a main bad guy other than these two dorks. Like, what? Like, we have Stella, who's basically just, her personality is just being a bitch. There's no, like, people love villains. I mean, look at Ursula, Mother Gothel. Like, freaking Maleficent. I don't mean the new version, I mean the old version. Like, look at those Disney villains and tell me what exactly makes them iconic, and then tell me what's iconic about Stella other than being a bitch. Tell me. Give me one personality trait that is not being a bitch. Because from what you can tell with these different characters, they were well written. They have their moments of, like, fun, where you can understand that feeling. Like, it makes sense. Ursula wanted power. Basically, getting Ariel to sell her, voice for a pair of feet. Manipulated her. What does Stella do to her daughter? Doesn't even try. She just kind of like talks about her evil plan in public, and her daughter still somehow doesn't realize she's the one who, put a hit on her own husband. Like, mm-hmm. She was practically bragging about it, and you still couldn't hear that in the room? I'm sorry, but that doesn't make sense. That does not make sense. Like, you couldn't have a moment to just basically let these characters just develop, that they could just do whatever works for their personality and build it up and have it be this epic big moment. No, 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 no. No, we can't have that. We can't have that. Otherwise, people would actually like them. Which is, again, it's one-dimensional storytelling. It's flat. It's very flat. And it's unfortunate that we don't have some kind of story for these two to actually build themselves off of. It's just like, well, let's just hope for the best. Let's hope that people actually watch the series. They do, and then finding this, and it's just like, what else are we supposed to do? Not freaking do anything about it? Like, come on. That doesn't make any sense. And it's frustrating because there's so much more we could be doing with these two characters. Like, we've had the moments with Stryker, with Crimson, with Mad Mom, Mammon? Fuck. I can't say his name. I apologize in advance. I'm sorry. But it's just really ridiculous that we're supposed to be seeing some development from these characters, but there's a lack of development there. Like, I would have loved to see Stella's, point of view from how she dealt with being married to Stolas, or how Andy felt about, watching, I don't know, it's just, there's so much there. And I know I'm rambling, but this is the point of this. It's just couldn't we have gotten some moments of Stella and her brother just forming this plan in the background? Actually being taken seriously? There are moments when you can definitely have a serious moment. It's just a matter of making sure you make room for that in storytelling. And with the way that Helluva Boss goes about it, it's just in a lot of ways, some of these villains have had their serious moments. But with Stella and Andy, it's just kind of flat. They're basically treated like they're just really dumb. And you're surprised they managed to somehow get this far. And I don't know if that's the purpose of that, but it just kind of, again, to me, it kind of felt flat. And it's unfortunate because we could actually get some room for more development. I feel like a lot of people were theorizing that, one of the other sins was going to be a big bad, but then it's just shoved under the rug and never talked about or never thought about. It's just, no, we can make do with Stella and Andy, even though they don't really do much of anything. I guess, even though you have plenty of time to tell your story, to develop these characters, to do something with them, it makes sense. It would make sense. But no, we're just supposed to basically hope for the best, and maybe, just maybe, they'll get some kind of development. Maybe. And honestly, if they weren't too busy talking all the time, too busy scheming all the time, and actually focused on what, everyone knows, we could actually get some kind of idea of what they're trying to plan, or get some idea of what their what their intentions really were. Because to me, it really doesn't add much of anything when half of the like characters don't really do much with these characters. Like, the plot doesn't really try and involve them. Like, yeah, they're in the background, they're in the shadows doing it, and that was such a waste when they could have planted those seeds all along and actually make them be taken seriously. And they just kind of fell flat as villains as the story went on. Like, when you're at episode, like, the pilot in episode 1, you're like, okay, I'm getting the vibes. And then it just goes down. And it goes down more. And then more. And we're just supposed to deal with it. Because there needs to be time for us to, like, appreciate the relationships, right? Which a lot of the people who watch this are watching, this based off of a team of imps going off and, getting rid of, like, these people they were hired to take down. And we barely get any of that. Like, what if they just, like, used evidence of them doing that and making a big point of that in the court? Why didn't they just do that? But I guess it's just like, well, whatever, we can't, like, do much of anything with that, even though that would actually be smart and actually bring something to the table. We can't just have them monitor them just for the sake of making sure that they can get what they want and take down whoever steps in their way. It's just the lazy way of writing. It's just the lazy way of writing for now. We're just gonna have to deal with it, because, like, if we don't, then we're not going to get enough moments between Stolas and Blitz, even though I feel like at this point, it's just... We have enough of that. Let's move on to an actual plot. I don't care about the relationship drama. I just want, actual episodes where characters develop. And it's happened very slowly. And I get it. It's an indie series. It's supposed to be slow to some degree because they don't have this much, they don't have that much. But you have to remember, a lot of the time when shows are written, they always have to have some form of connection. If they're trying to plant the seeds of a big bad guy in the background, they have to make sure those seeds are discoverable by the audience. And actually, you see the development from the villains throughout the series if they are frequent in the series. Otherwise, people get bored. Like, do you honestly think people like seeing Stella and her brother being like, isn't it fun that we just, like, made sure we took away her phone and she couldn't see if her dad was trying to call her? That's not enough funny. And they keep laughing about it for, like, weeks to months, maybe, depending on how well the timeline goes. And it's just frustrating. It's very frustrating. And it's crazy because I'm just trying to understand what's the deal. Like, you get what I mean? Like, what's the deal of the development? And it's not there. It's honestly just somewhere around, hiding away, and it's never going to come back. And that's unfortunate. So, it's honestly something I wish we could have seen more of. And it's frustrating because a lot of people do like to see good villains. It's just a matter of how it's written, how the development is, how this is done, that kind of thing. But in the series, it just doesn't do that. And it really sucks because then it kind of makes the bad guys not really worth, not worth a threat, not worth this or that. And we don't really see anything else than just them being one-dimensional, and it kind of sucks. Because it kind of makes the audience feel like they're immature. Like, I'm not saying it needs to be sophisticated and such, but at least have the villains be interesting. Have them have personalities. Have them be worth their screen time. Make it seem like every time they're on screen, it's gonna be their last time to be on screen. That's a good way to go about making sure that each scene counts. Because if they're just sitting there laughing their ass off over a stupid phone call that, like, took place weeks ago, it's just like, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? Like, it's not funny anymore. That fart joke is not funny anymore. That's basically the equivalent of what they're trying to do. It's not funny at all. And I really hate seeing that, because it just comes to show how this show has downfalled from it just comes to show how much the show has devolved during the time, and it doesn't add up. It really doesn't. And unfortunately, a lot of people just don't want to see that. And, like, you can have your opinion and such. I'm not saying change it, but, like, at least look at the facts that the characters just really lack in development than a lot of the other characters. It's shown on screen, it's barely there, and the villains don't get that much appreciation or worked on or anything. It's just like, well, whatever. We can just cut it and paste. Nobody will know. That's how it feels. That's generally how it feels in the story, and it kind of sucks. But anyways, I'm just done with the rambling for a little bit. This isn't me saying I need a full tragic backstory of these two. I just need some kind of reason. Some kind of development, something. Not just sitting in the background, laughing their asses off over a stupid phone call. Just something that makes them villainous, that makes them powerful, that makes them interesting. Not a lack of. Like, I feel like a lot of these personalities just go nowhere because everyone's afraid of either offending somebody, or they're afraid that it doesn't turn out right, or it's just like, to me, it just comes to show that there's a lot of fear with a lot of the developments in the series. There's something there holding somebody back. I don't know where, I don't know when, I just have that vibe coming from how it's shown on the TV screen of how the characters react. That's basically somebody holding themselves back from making a good villain. Or they just don't know how to do it, which makes sense. But anyways, guys, that was all for this discussion. I don't have much else to ramble about. I wish I could ramble more and more about it. It's just, there's just so much there that it would be its own video entirely for another discussion. But anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. And if you did, and if you are new here, please hit that subscribe button. And anyways, I will see you all in another video. So stay safe, stay cool, and most importantly, guys, stay hydrated. This is Dazzling Kate signing the hell out of here.